Well, welcome everyone. Many things have changed due to the pandemic and research was also impacted. And so we've seen an increase in survey-based research. And so the Free Communications Committee wanted to create an educational session to help researchers who are submitting abstracts that are survey-based. So things that we'll cover, this session will focus on reviewing the guidelines for the submission process. We're going to discuss key elements of the submission process specifically for the methods and results section, because I think that's where we find the most hiccups, and then describe common errors when submitting. So my name is Shannon David, and I'll be your facilitator for this session today. I am the program director at North Dakota State University and currently serving on the Free Communications Committee. My research interests involve research design and methods, and then the patient-clinician relationship. So let's go ahead and get started. Just as a reminder, survey-based research, really we're interested in asking a series of questions to a sample or to an entire population of people to describe attitudes, opinions, beliefs, perceptions, behaviors, and characteristics of a sample or of a population. And so we're really focused on those behaviors and characteristics. And one thing that I think we often forget is that it can be quantitative or qualitative, that that survey-based research can be pretty flexible in that way. So when we think about developing our abstract, first thing you want to think about is your title, and you want it to be as descriptive as possible. And then we want to also, the first heading of our abstract is the context. And so the context really should be a brief introduction. And when I say brief, I really mean maybe 1-2 sentences describing an introduction to your topic, and then talking about your purpose statement. Your next headings will be methods and results. And I'm going to hold off on those because I have a slide for those in just a second. And then we also have our conclusion section. And that conclusion section, the key aspect is to really, you want to make sure that you have some type of take-home message. That I often tell my students, or when I'm thinking about an abstract, I try to think of what's the so what, the who cares of the actual research project. And as you think about your submission, there are guidelines on the website for you to review at any time that have very descriptive directions, but also examples. When we're interested in the abstract submission for specifically talking about the methods section, a couple things that we need to think about. The first thing is during your methods section, you should describe the research design, meaning is it quantitative, is it qualitative, is it cross-sectional? Is it open-ended questions, close-ended, and that'll also help you decide design. You also want to think about your environment. So is it an online survey? Is it paper pencil? Is it quantitative? Is it quantitative? Is it through Qualtrics? Is it through SurveyMonkey? How did you put it together? Also, it's important to make sure that you report your target population or the sample of interest. Are you looking in the clinical setting? Are you looking at athletic training students? Are you looking at athletic trainers, maybe preceptors? And then it's going to be important to make sure you describe their demographics. So age, years of experience, maybe biological sex or gender. And with that, it's going to be important to make sure that you report your sampling plan and your response rate. That response rate is going to be extremely important so that as a reviewer, we have a better understanding of how well you captured that sampler population. Sometimes response rate can't be calculated, and so it's important to do your best to try and describe it as best as you can. So for example, maybe you sent out the survey to program directors who then forwarded on to athletic training students. Well, one thing that you can do is report the number of programs that were emailed, and that can help give us a better idea or a bigger picture. And then, of course, we want to think about the data collection process. When did you send the surveys? How did you collect the survey data? Maybe you handed out the paper pencil surveys. Was it emailed? And then also, did you send reminders? And what did that look like? You do want to think about and describe the survey details or the survey development aspect of it. So the number of items on the survey, what the response options look like. Is it a Likert scale? Is it frequency? Again, giving us as much detail about the survey itself so that as a reviewer, we can think about the credibility. Additionally, for survey development, you want to think about, is this survey newly developed or was it developed previously and you just reused it? Also, if you decide to create a survey, talking about where you got the questions from. Were they from the literature? Was it based on a previous survey and then you modified it? Did you take some anecdotal information from a clinical setting? All those details are helpful for us, again, to understand and create validity for the survey. One thing I do want to mention is that if you do modify a survey, it's important to make sure that you talk about the pilot data so that we know that you've considered the validity and reliability of it. If you've already created a survey, or if the survey's already been created, then the validity and reliability hopefully is already there. But if you modify it, if you create your own survey, you want to make sure that you're mentioning that validity, reliability, and really all the psychometrics related to the survey. And then lastly, in your methods section, you should also include a data analysis section. So if you did a qualitative study, talking about how maybe you did codes or themes, what kind of analysis you did for that. If you did a quantitative study, what type of statistical analyses you did. So when we talk about the results section, a couple of things that we want to think about when we submit our abstract is making sure that results you again described are quantitative or qualitative. So I often encourage people to look back to their research design, and if they said that it's a qualitative study, we want to make sure that we have qualitative results. If you said that there's going to be quantitative and qualitative research design, then you want to make sure that you have both quantitative and qualitative in your results section. I encourage people to usually start the results section with the descriptive data, just to give, again, a picture of what the data looks like that you received. If you are going to do quantitative data, thinking about statistical significance is important, reporting those p-values or confidence intervals. And then qualitative data, again, thinking about themes, codes, or observations that you potentially collected. The big piece here, again, is to make sure that you recognize that if you collected qualitative data, that's what you need to be reporting in the results section. If you collected quantitative data, that's what you need to be reporting in the results section. When we think about abstracts from a reviewer standpoint, there are a couple common reasons for rejection. The first one is lacking detail or missing information. One of the big things is that we can't figure out exactly what happened or how the study was conducted. So the more specific you are, the better off you are. Related, another common reason for rejection is poor overall clarity of the writing. And so again, the reviewer has trouble understanding what exactly was done. And then lastly, one of the more common reasons for rejection is that the conclusions don't match the research question, or the results don't support what's actually listed in the conclusion. So again, make sure you look back up to the other sections of the abstract to make sure that what you're putting in the conclusion section is that take-home message aligns with the research question and also the results that are listed. So again, this is for survey research, but you'll notice a handful of these resources are mixed methods, but there are a variety of different resources here for you if you have any interest in reviewing those or just need a little bit more guidance. As a reminder, the abstracts can begin to be submitted September 15th, and they are due by November 1st. Thank you and good luck.